to the Spinning Knitter podcast. I am your hostess today, and this is a podcast for all family, friends, and anyone who wants to come along on the fiber crafting journey. This episode will be all about spinning and knitting, and on top of it, because I am so bad at recording podcasts, I am planning on recording 2 today because I am so bad at this that I figured if I took all the many things that I did crafting wise over the past almost 2 months now since I last saw you, it would be more than enough to talk to you for 2 hours, and I'm sure you don't want to sit there for that long, and I'm not sure that I am capable of sitting here for that long. So I figured I'd film them both today. So you're gonna see me twice, but on the same day, but probably months apart. So you're welcome for that. This is my mini host, fiber buddy, and fellow fiber lover, Riley. He is Maine Coon and something else. We don't know what else, but he's something else because he's a little too small, but he has all the markings of a Maine Coon. He has been my buddy for the past 17 years. He was a rescue from a shelter, and he is one of the great joys of my life. So say hello to Riley. While we get going here, feel free to pull up your best cup of coffee. It is freezing cold outside, but don't worry. I brought an iced beverage because that's what I do. Hold on, we're rearranging. You can't have any of this. It'll make you sick. Chocolate is one of my favorite things in the world, just like Riley. And today I wanted a treat. So this is my treat for today. I hope you brought yours with you. So before we get started with the knitting and spinning, of course I have to tell you what I'm reading. If you don't like it or are not a fan of books, feel free to skip ahead probably 5 minutes. This won't take very long, so you can sit through it if you don't mind, or if you do mind. So I recently picked up the complete Orange collection. Orange is a manga that was written by, I'm going to butcher this, Ichigo Takano. It was published by 7 Seas, and this is volume 1. So one of the things that I really enjoy in my reading life is a variety of things. So I'm sure it looks like to you guys all that I read is Asian-based literature, and you'd be mostly right currently. But I read a wide variety of styles of writing because, ooh, nails in my leg. Okay, that hurt. And I trimmed most of his nails. I got 8 out of 20 nails on this cat. I will just have you know it was an adventure. It was so much fun. Anyway, I read a lot of Asian-based literature, and you would be right that over the past year that is where my taste has gone. But I read a wide variety of styles, so fiction, nonfiction, and different types of genres within genres. So I like things that are simplistic. I like things that are complicated and complex. And okay, I'm gonna kick you off if you keep doing that. You don't need those to stay there. So Orange is a manga that came out some time ago. I'm not quite sure when. Probably put it below, but it is classified as sci-fi romance, which growing up reading H.G. Wells, Lovecraft, Jules Verne, Orson Scott Card, all those wonderful writers, I found that this was intriguing. So it is a story that is about a girl that's in, I think, 11th grade, and she receives a letter from herself in the future, and a chain of events unfollows. So she is trying to change the future after receiving a letter from her future self, and I found the premise interesting. So I was able to buy the complete collection. They are still sold as individuals books. Yes, they're still sold as individual books, but they also come in volumes. So I have volume 1 and volume 2 of the complete collection, and am planning on reading these, and I will let you know sometime in the future, probably within the next 5 podcasts, so within the next year, I will let you know what I think of this. I thought there might be a TV series out on this, based on this, but I can't remember, so let me know if you know, and if you don't know, that's fine. So, what I have, now that the cat has licked my straw and probably eaten chocolate, is, what am I wearing? So, what am I wearing? I am wearing a test knit. This was a pattern that I test knit in sometime within the past 3 years. So, sometime within the past 3 years, I think it was 2020. I want to say it was 2020 because I think it was right after we moved that. Yes, I'm certain that it was 2020 because right after we moved, I was very stressed out. And so, of course, I decided to join a test knit because that lessens your stress. But anyway, regardless, I found the wonderful Jen P of Jen P Knits Things on Instagram like 4 or 5 years ago and started following her. And she had a test knit for Sunup on 82nd, which is this beautiful pattern. It is a raglan design, and it is one of my favorite hand knits that I've made thus far, and I knit a lot of things. So Jen is a designer that focuses a lot on fit and detail, and she is, if you go and look at her Instagram page, she is very much a simple but effective garment designer. And what I mean by that is all of her patterns have these very simple, very classic, very clean lines, but they work well for many, many body types. A lot of designers that I have tried their patterns in the past are very much they're good at something, but they're not good at everything. And Jen is good at everything. Her patterns are, without a doubt, some of my favorites. So this one, when I test knit it, and I don't usually do raglan, with my body shape, my body style, raglan doesn't necessarily fit on me well. It doesn't tend to fit me well around the bust, and then it tends to be very baggy for me everywhere else. And I don't mean like a nice oversized cozy baggy, I mean like an unflattering style baggy. And Jen's designs don't do that on my body. I know that I could take the time and modify those things, but they are not really okay. So generally what attracts me to a pattern in the first place is that it looks like it will flatter my body style, and that it is something that I want in my wardrobe because I want to wear it. There's some design element about it that just screams at me, and I want that piece in my wardrobe, whether it's a sock design or a hat pattern, mittens, something about that looks like something that is a part of the aesthetic that I want in my life. So one of the things about Jen's patterns, these simple silhouettes are combined with these just spot on details. So I signed up to test knit this pattern, and one of the things about it was I thought that it would be a great gift knit. And so initially I picked a bigger size than what I would necessarily choose for myself for this design, and then ended up not gifting the pattern or the finished garment, and ended up keeping it. So this pattern is actually several sizes larger than what is recommended for the actual pattern. So it is oversized on me. It is super slouchy, but without being draggy. It doesn't bunch up uncomfortably anywhere, and the silhouette works really, really well. I think I have like 8 inches of positive ease at the end of it. Jen's actual knit for this sweater, just to show you how versatile it is. Jen's is very fitted. It's incredibly fitted garment with just a perfect shape to it. So you can knit this pattern in as an oversized, like I accidentally ended up doing, or like Jen's, where it is very fitted, and you will have 2 completely different sweaters that are perfect for just about anything. So Jen's, when I look at it, looks like it would be perfect to pair with a skirt to go out to dinner, or slacks. It also looks like it would be a great garment to wear out hiking, like on a warmer day where you don't want to overheat but you still want something cozy. For me, this sweater is just, it's perfect. I can pull it down to here, just up to my knuckles on my hands. I love that. And then I can also pull it up so that it is just right at my elbows, and I can have the perfect slouchy sleeve, and that makes me happy. But what else also makes me happy about this is Jen put a lot of thought into designing this sweater, specifically the neckline and the raglan. So when I say she's detailed, I mean this raglan seam, it is knit all the way down in the round to here, and you can't tell when you're looking at it. It looks like a seamed garment with how she has put everything together. So even though this is not an actual seam, it mimics one very well. There are only knit and purls. The ribbing is just regular ribbing, both at the neck, at the collar, and the sleeves at the hem. I'll be able to see the hem. At the hem. It is very, I might not be able to see this. Probably not. There is garter underneath, and it goes all the way down the side, also mimicking a seamed sweater, but it's not. Everything is knit in the round. It's incredibly easy, and her instructions are so clear cut and precise. So you can literally knit the sweater you want just by following her instructions. If you want it to be very fitted, get a size with negative ease. If you want it to be slouchy and oversized, like mine ended up being, pick something that's a little bit bigger. Just realize that whatever you do, your yardage is going to vary, and I would recommend swatching. Jen's gauge is, for me, was very easy to meet. No extra thoughts about it whatsoever. Just clicked like that. For some people, that might not be the case. I worked with a different yarn than what the pattern called for. So I actually got, what is this? BC Gonn Bio Balance. BC Gonn Bio Balance, which is a fingering. I think the colorway was Sapphire, I want to say. And then it's held with a single strand of mohair, and I had Diablo. It's Diablo mohair. It was something called something really pretty. Cornflower. It was Diablo mohair in cornflower, and Diablo is mohair, nylon, and acrylic. Honestly, you can look it up if you want to, and I think I got that from Hopi. website. But basically this sweater with the yarn that I chose came out to, I think, about $60 for the sweater. BioBalance Garn is very, very reasonable. BC Garn is. And this one is 55% wool, 45% cotton. So for me, this is not too warm. It's light and airy, and it's very breathable, which I appreciate. But it's also GOTS or GOTS certified, which means it's organic. It also means the sheep are taken care of in a cruelty-free way, and there's no mulesing involved, which I deeply appreciate, and I'm sure the sheep do too. I know that the wool comes from South America and the cotton comes from Turkey, and I believe both are ethically sustainable. I don't know if they are fair trade. I can't remember that right off the top of my head, but I was really impressed with the yarn itself and the colors that I was able to find. They have quite a range of blues, and it knit up really well with the Diablo. Definitely created a garment that I will be wearing for the foreseeable future, and I don't think it's going to die very quickly or easily because there is literally no pilling, and it did go in the washer semi on purpose. I kind of was having a day where I said screw everything, and I just threw it in the washer. I didn't dry it, okay? I didn't dry it. I just threw it in the washer. And it's fine. It's perfectly fine. There's no pilling, there's no pulls, there's no snags. I am pleasantly surprised it did not shrink at all. It was an adventure I could have lived without because, like 15 seconds after the washer started going and it hit lock and you can't open it anymore, I just about panicked because I realized it was in there. Not with a lot of other stuff, but with some stuff, and had a miniature moment, but it seems to be doing just fine. Air dried. It's the same length it was before. I couldn't see or find any felting. There might be a little extra haziness to it, but I can't tell because there's mohair in there. So, you can't tell these things with mohair. Seems to be okay. The other thing I liked about knitting this sweater was it ended up, because the Diablo is a lace weight and the BC Garn BioBalance is a fingering, it's basically knitting with a DK. So this sweater knit up a heck of a lot faster than I thought it was going to. And on top of that, these were like, I don't know what it was, but these were the easiest sleeves ever to knit. Like, I did not get stuck on Sleeve Island. I was not bored. I was super, super into knitting these sleeves. I don't know what it was, but I think I knit them in a day and a half. I also didn't try to do magic loop on one needle with both of them this time. I think that was a mistake. On the last sweater that I was working on actively, I put both sleeves on the same circular needle, and that was a mistake because it didn't work out well. I need to go when I knit. I need to be able to go without fiddling, just like around and around, and that does not happen when you magic loop two separate things together. That's like, I can magic loop a sock, I can magic loop a sleeve, I cannot magic loop two together. I can do two at the same time on separate needles. That makes me happy, but it's too much fiddling otherwise. I don't know. Do you guys get that too? I have met sock knitters that are like avid two at a time magic loop people, and I'm an avid two at a time sock knitting, but it's on separate sets of needles, and I do like an inch on one and then an inch on the other and back and forth. It just really works for me. If so, how do you do it? Because I cannot handle the amount of fiddling from balancing two separate yarns, going to two separate projects. Like, that annoys me to no end. How do you get around that? Do you not find it annoying? I find it annoying. Let me know. I would be interested to know. Also, question, have you done any test knitting? I'm curious because I would like to know what you enjoyed about it and what you didn't. So this was the 4th test knit that I ever did, and yes, 4th. It's the 4th test knit I ever did, and I really enjoyed it. And I signed up for another test knitting group recently and found out that I got a spot to test knit. And I just want to know, what makes you like or not like test knitting? Everybody's a little different when it comes to that. Like for me, I like how detailed you have to be when you're test knitting something. Like it's a 50-50 whether something is going to work out or not. 2 out of the 4 projects that I have test knit thus far have been professionally graded patterns. Of those, I have, from the size that I knit, found a mistake in either clarity, grammar, or the knitting key. I found that a term has been placed in the wrong area or misplaced in the wrong area. But I haven't found an issue so far in my size in any of the math for either one. And so to me, test knitting is exciting because it's like a 50-50% chance it'll work out. You have to pay attention to the clarity, to the grammar, to the counts, to all those things. And then you got to watch the pattern and check and see if there are any mistakes. And to me, that's very exciting because I really like that. I like that sense of anticipation. Like I could find something, but I could also not find something. It's like the adult version of an Easter egg hunt. Like I hope it works out, but it could not. And if it could not, can I fix it? Or what would fix it? Because if it's a grammar thing, if you grow up reading a lot. I was an avid, voracious reader from the time I could remember up until college. And I was reading all the time, nonstop, 24/7. One summer, I was disqualified from winning a prize at the library because I read 500 books in 3 months, and the librarian didn't believe I was telling the truth with all the book slips that I handed in, and none of them were repeats. And she was like, there is no way you could have read all these. And I was like, well, yes, there is. I did read them. They were fun. I can tell you what the plot point is for each book. Anyway, point being, when you read something and you have to check for the different clarity, the different grammar, if you have that background in reading, I think something like this is even more fun because that grammar, that clarity, that thought pattern, the way things are composed, all influence the composition of the work being made in your hands. And if you don't have all those things lined up in place so that everyone can access them well, it can cause problems for people. I've noticed that when you go in to read about a pattern or somebody's mistakes maybe that they've made in a pattern, a lot of times it comes from them stumbling over wording or maybe mixing something up that could have been more clear. And to me, that's an interesting thing to be able to hunt for that in advance. So do you like test knitting? If so, why or why not? There's no judgment here. You can tell me exactly what you think. You can post it down below. You can comment on Instagram. Either one. Message me. I would like to know. So, the reason I'm saying the reason I'm discussing test knitting with you is because I am going into my 5th test knit. I found out today that I was chosen, and I am so super excited. So Valentina of Valentina's Knits is testing a pattern called the Morrico sweater, and I am one of the test knitters. I have been following Valentina for, I want to say 4 or 5 years. It's more than 3. I want to say it's 5. About 5 years, and her patterns are stunning. There's actually one, the Oda sweater, that I'm going to tell you about later. And her designs are stunning. So she is primarily a knitter, and she comes from Austria. I think she's from Austria, and she loves lace. She loves lace. She loves lace yokes, and her designs are like 1950s drop dead gorgeous. Like all those hand knit yokes with the puffy sleeves, that's what her designs remind me of, but without the puffy sleeves. She has a detail and a precision for lace that just blows my mind. So she has this Morrico sweater that she is going to be testing soon. Is just ridiculously versatile in how she's put it together. She and Jen have a lot in common with that, with coming up with different ways of doing things. So this sweater, and I'll put a picture of it somewhere, I'm sure, but this sweater has so many options. It is like the smorgasbord of design elements. So she knit this sweater in a beautiful green blue colorway, hand-dyed colorway, and I think it's called Planet Earth, and it's stunning. But it's got a very deep yoke on it and 3/4 length sleeves, and it's beautiful. The lace work is open and airy, and everything flows together. It's gorgeous. And then she knit the same thing out of another type of yarn, but did the exact opposite. It's a shorter yoke and it's longer sleeves, and it is glorious. And it is in this beautiful mauve colorway. Just absolutely stunning. It's like a little bit tweedy. And when I saw it, I put in for the test knit and I crossed my fingers, and I thought, if I don't get it, I might cry a little bit, but it's okay. I'll just knit it when it comes out. But thankfully, she selected me as one of the test knitters, and I am so happy. Thank you, Valentina. So it is full of twisted stitches and lace, and we have a yowling cat in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. It's very temperamental sometimes. But the really cool thing is you can pick either a lace or a no lace in the pattern. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the green blue version that she knitted, you will see this beautiful open lace. And then if you look at the mauve version, it's still lace, it's still beautiful, but there are no holes, which I thought was really cool. Someone like me, I don't tend to like holes in the bust area, because that means I have to wear something under the sweater. And usually I like to layer, but I don't like to layer that much. So if you can see my bra straps through the sweater, I'm not going to make the sweater. Simple as that. So to be able to have a design where you can hide the holes in the lace to facilitate that is absolutely wonderful to me. So all of this deliciousness simply means that I went stash diving, and I don't have a lot of sweater quantities of yarn. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 sweater quantities of yarn on hand, and of those, 2 of them are already planned projects. Like, I bought the yarn with the intention of using it for a very specific knit. Like, I recently purchased, which you might have seen on Instagram, I recently purchased the, I don't know whether it's pronounced Lunenburg or Lunenburg pullover kit from the Woolly Thistle, Amy Christoffers, and that is specifically going to be for the Lunen or Lunenburg pullover. Like, I'm not going to use it for anything else. That is what it's for. I have 2 other sweater quantities of yarn that they were purchased with a purpose and they will only go to that thing. So I went stash diving and I looked. I have a worsted quantity, I have a sport quantity, and I have one fingering weight quantity for sweaters. So what I found was Loft in my stash. This is a Brooklyn tweed yarn, which is sourced and spun in the US. It is out of American Tarhi and Columbia wool. I find that really cool that everything was sourced and spun in the US. That to me is just an extra bonus. It is a fingering, it is wool and spun, and it is a 2-ply. So one of the things about Loft is that being made out of Tarhi and Columbia, it is very springy, it is very bouncy, and it is very lightweight. Like when you feel this, it feels fairly crisp, but super duper light. Like it feels like a freaking cloud landed. That's how light this is. And it's a beautiful yarn. It's got a little bit of like a tweediness to it. The fibers aren't solid. They've got a little bit of gray and a little bit of black in spots. So it makes it so it looks just a little heathered, a little tweedy, which makes it wonderful for many different things. It gives it that depth to it. But I'm not sure I want to use this for this sweater. Usually, I like things that are very woolly for lace. Lace to me, when it is very crisp, is so beautiful and so decadent almost that I don't want to wear it. Unless it's a special occasion, and I don't want the sweater to be that. But I don't want it to be what I normally like. So for instance, I have the Aito kit from the Woolly Thistle for Melody Hoffman's design for the shawl, and that is right up my alley. It is woolen yarn essentially. The Plotulopi is fuzzy and it is delicate and woolly all at once, and it combined with the lace, it's warm and it's cozy and it's comforting, and it's everyday in a classical way that makes me want to wear it regardless of where I am. And to me, this would do that, but I want this sweater, I think I want this sweater to be more crisp than I would normally prefer lace, because there's just something about it that makes me want it to stick out. I don't know any other better way to put it. So I'm going to test swatching this anyway, because I want to see what happens. It could surprise me. It could be exactly what I want. So here's a cake of it. I had wound this up for another project that I was not happy with how it was knitting up. So this was the project that I had used it for. Shout out if you know what this is. It's a very popular sweater, and I love the sweater, and I'm still planning on knitting it, but not in this yarn. For some reason in this yarn, this did not appeal to me. I think the yarn was a little bit lighter than I needed it to be. I needed something a little heavier than fingering, and I thought I could make it work, but it's just, it's too open. The way that this is just too open for what I wanted the sweater to be. So I am going to rip this out, and I'm going to re-swatch with this to see if I want to do the test knit in this, but I of course went ahead and ordered a separate yarn that I think I will like more. So I basically did stash dive. I didn't find what I wanted. I tried really did try, but I ended up getting from Webs, I ordered, or yarn.com, I ordered a cone of Harrisville Designs Shetland in the Hemlock colorway, and I am eagerly awaiting it, because even though it qualifies itself as a sport, I have found knitting it up, it acts more like a fingering for me with the gauge I typically get, and the way that I knit. And I think that dark green with this lace, I think it will show up very well, because the colorway is very heathery, but it's a dark heathery. So I think it'll really pop in the way I want it to. And of course, that is also spun in the New England area, so why would I not want it? I know you can use it for knitting, crocheting, and weaving, and from what I've heard some horror stories about using it as warp for weaving, but not as weft. So I've had it recommended by many different people, and I am excited to knit with it for this sweater. I think it'll be really nice. Here's a picture of it, just in case you're wondering what it looked like. It's pretty. It's so pretty, but I think that is probably what I'm gonna end up using for this test knit. We will see. So, sorry, I had to go answer the door. Now I'm chewing on the chunks of chocolate in my coffee. Apologies. But it's really good. So, last thing for today for this episode, got it, nailed it. I want to show you a little bit of spinning now that we've talked sweaters and stuff. So, flashback, Valentina Knits is a flippin' fantastic designer, and I get to test knit for her. But I've also been testing for a sweater spin that I want to do, which I'm going to show you a little bit of, and then I'm going to let you go just for this time, because I don't know when I'll see you again. So I have, if you've been following me, been spinning up this gorgeous Three Waters Farm, the fabulous Marianne and Steven combed top. It's hand dyed in their iron blue colorway. It's a 60/40 of polar silk, and it is showing much dimmer on the screen than it actually is. So to describe this colorway to you, iron blue is right. This, let's see, does it show right? No. Okay, this colorway looks like, oh, I don't even know how to describe this. This is a fantastic, freaking stunning shade of blue, and it is multi-tonal. It has like this deep gray blue and then this like cobalt tealy blue mixing together, and my camera is not showing it the way that it is. Oh, maybe there. You know what? That kind of looks, that's probably the best representation. Go to my Instagram. You know what? I'm probably putting pictures in. I don't doubt myself. I'm probably putting pictures in to show you what the actual colorway looks like. It's gorgeous. It's soft. It's fluffy. I want a pillow out of it. Anyway, I have been working on this, and if you've been following my Tangled Mangled adventures, you know that I have been spinning and sampling on this 4 ounces. So this is what I have left of the 4 ounces. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot is left, and there's not, because I bought it so that I could sample the heck out of it. Here's why. I started out spinning it up on these 3 thongs. So this top one here is a Leaping Fox thong, Maeve style. The second one is a Koi thong, also Maeve style. And this bottom one is a Glen thong with a samurai dog burnt onto it. Pyrography. It's wood burned. These are from Charlene of Regenbogenwolle, and they are fantastic. I pronounce it Fang. I don't know whether Fang or Fang is right. The world I grew up in, we're going to pronounce it Fang. If it's Fang, that's fine. Let me know. I might correct myself eventually. So the point is, I got these stunning spindles and decided to do this sweater spin on them because Fangs are very interesting. They are super lightweight, and they have a very fast, very short spin. I've been moving these around a lot. Can you tell the cops are starting to slide around because I am not a good cop builder on these. But the reason I chose them is because I can get a light woolly single like you cannot believe on these guys. So I have been spinning up samples and testing to see what I wanted. And initially, my first step was to do just a regular 4x4 swatch. So this is my first swatch that I did. So the bottom is a 3-ply Navajo ply, or chain ply, depending on what you call it. And the top is a 2-ply. With both, I underspun and overplied a little bit, but not a lot, to see which density I preferred. And I found that the 3-ply, although very nice, was just a little too dense for my taste, and the 2-ply up top was exactly what I wanted. So I went ahead and created a butt ton of 2-ply. And when I created it, I wanted it, the sweater that I had in mind, I wanted it to mimic a singles yarn, but have the structural soundness of a 2-ply, of a 2-ply. So I underspun it and I overplied it a lot to get it to look like it had melded together. And then this is what I did. So I created a swatch, and I still haven't steeked it open, but these were the 2 sweaters that I had in mind, 2 competing sweaters. Let's see if I do this way, maybe it'll show better. There are 2 competing sweaters. The top is the Eris sweater by Agnitz, and the bottom is the Flora sweater by Marina. And I found I loved both of them, but I didn't love them in this yarn. This is why I swatched, because you put so much time into spinning, you don't want to use your hand spin with the wrong pattern. And although I love both these patterns, I have other fiber that I think I want to try them in. And so I think that I am going to pick a different pattern for the hand spun that I am getting. And when I saw the Oda Knits pattern by Valentina, my first thought was, you know what? I want that sweater in this colorway. It has exactly what I want. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I will finish spinning up this braid. I will sample a little bit more for the Oda sweater. After this test knit gets done, I think within the next year, I will hopefully be knitting on an Oda sweater. What do you think? Do you think that'll look nice? I think it'll look nice. The thing about the yarn that I'm creating, it's a little fuzzy because that's what I wanted. It mimics woolen spun because it is lightweight and airy. I'm spinning from the fold, which means, so if I pull off a chunk of this fiber, so if I have a chunk like this, what that means is I am folding it over my finger like this, and I am spinning the fiber off the tip like that and drafting long draw. So it's completely unsupported long draw is what I'm doing. it creates a very, very fluffy yarn. I don't support the single at all. It is what it is. It's not perfect. I didn't want this yarn to be perfect. I wanted it to have some thick and thin texture, not overly, but just a little bit, because I didn't want it to look perfectly consistent when I knit it up. And I think I've got that, because if you look at the inside of this particular pattern and you look at the you look at the stockinette portion, it's not perfect, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want holes. I didn't want it to be thick and thin enough that I would have holes, but I wanted it to be just a little bit textured, and I think that's what I've got with this. So I think it would look beautiful in the Ode to Patterning cables. Let me know what you think. Anyway, this is the end of part 1 of the 2-part podcast. Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely day. Feel free to contact me on Instagram at any point in time, but be aware, you are going to get spammed over the next month with Mariko test knit pictures. I can guarantee you. Anyway, hope you're having a wonderful, lovely day. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.